안녕하세요, 여러분. Hi, everyone. I'm Serin, and I will be hosting this month's Single Scoops episode. Many of you will know by now that I am a huge K-pop fan as well as an avid collector, and I have gotten several questions about how I buy and collect all of my K-pop related items, either for personal collection or research uses. I've left the post on Reddit before about how I purchased my DVDs, but I decided to record a full episode on my K-pop collection journey to explain the process and hopefully help out other fans with finding and obtaining what they want. My collection journey practically began in 2007 when I had just become a fan of Yuna. My family had just moved to Hong Kong, which made it a lot more challenging to purchase Korean CDs or DVDs in the stores. The only way I could attain them was to give my dad a whole list of all the CDs I wanted when he had to fly back to Korea for a business trip. During the 2.5 years we lived there, I amassed most of Yuna's albums and DVDs that were released during that period. The only thing I wasn't able to get was Yuna's first full-length Korean album because my dad wasn't able to find it. But I managed to secure a second-hand copy in 2015. A fellow Korean student got me Big Bang's Remember as a birthday gift, and I also collected SHINee's releases during my SHINee World phase. When we moved back to Seoul and I was attending middle and high school, my parents purchased up to 3 CDs I wanted anytime I got 85% or more on my exams, which expanded my collection even further. I still own a lot of CDs from those years, and several of them are from more low-tier groups or even hip-hop artists. And my interest in hip-hop led me into becoming a fan of Block B. I literally own all of their Korean releases now since I obtained the Ultimate Unicorn, the physical copy of their debut single, a couple of years ago. And by the time I started university, got my own bank account, and had a means of collecting money as well as finding a job around the time of my graduation, I was purchasing all of Yuna's and Block B's CDs, DVDs, fan club memberships, and even concert merch. Finally, after getting into first-gen K-pop from the Inkigayo algorithm in 2019, I started collecting first- and second-gen artists' CDs, most of which were purchased out of interest in the artist, for listening to audio that was no longer available for streaming, or for research purposes. Getting into first-gen K-pop opened doors for another category in my collection: magazines. As we all know, first-gen relied a lot on printed material, so magazines naturally became another item I had to collect. And my first-gen bias appeared in a lot of magazines, both before and after their debut as a singer. The first 90s magazines of my collection were purchased around February 2020. I had bought them on a Korean secondhand sales platform. I'll be honest here, I don't feel comfortable disclosing which Korean platforms I use due to privacy reasons because I resell some of the things I have, and I don't really want people snooping around to reach out to my ID on that platform, as well as upping the competition for very rare obscure items. So I hope you understand. But for those who are interested in other platforms that also offer K-pop merch, eBay and Buy are other great options. With a bunch of keywords saved for notifications and the succession of satisfactory purchases, I became more confident and started not only contacting sellers from years-old posts, but also uploaded posts in search of magazines that feature my bias. Some sellers have kindly messaged me saying that they have some magazines that feature my bias, and 2 or 3 of those messengers were actually former fans who still kept a collection of their magazine articles compiled in file folders. Others came forward with bromides, posters, or other freebies that used to come with these magazines. I will forever be grateful for their generosity. In addition, I managed to find a few Korean online bookstores that had a few copies available for sale. Some of them accept international orders through proxy shipping services, but most offer domestic orders only. Most of the magazines are entertainment magazines, focusing on idol groups or other celebrities like actors. But I've also collected tons of fashion magazines because of my bias's brief stint as a magazine model, and a few film magazines that introduce a movie they starred in. Over time, as I started collecting 1.5th and 2nd-gen magazines as well, I stumbled upon old cafe posts that listed TV shows the idols starred in. Fortunately, one of my moods is a first-gen fan who has experience contacting Korean terrestrial broadcast stations to find footage of her bias, so I reached out to her for help, and I couldn't be more surprised to find out how easy the process was. Basically, SBS, KBS, and MBC all have their respective archive centers that accept online inquiries from people who want to purchase their archive footage, mostly in the form of DVDs or high-definition USBs. You can even get them in video files to use for online media. I wrote a Reddit post about this a couple of years ago, which some of you might have read in the past. Since then, KBS Media updated their website, so their new direct link is what I linked to my script. And because one of my moods, who is a Chinese fan of Lee Jang-yeon, orders so many DVDs from KBS and is often willing to include some of my requests at times, I've been mostly placing my orders from KBS Media in the last 1.5 years or so. Anyway, I settled on purchasing DVDs because it is the cheaper option, and I own a portable CD player that I can just plug into my laptop. So far, I've collected about 60 DVDs in total, plus 2 USBs from KBS Media, which are basically geo-locked with internal software to prevent copyright infringement. Most of my DVDs are variety shows from the early to mid-2000s that my second bias group started, as well as a few 90s TV shows my 90s bias appeared in, including some music shows, a drama episode, and a charity show they performed at. The broadcasts do accept international inquiries from what I've heard from the aforementioned moods, so I think international fans can benefit greatly if they want to rewatch old performance videos or variety shows from SBS, KBS, or MBC. One thing to note is that the price range of the DVDs/USBs increases if the full episode exceeds 1 hour. Also, some of your requested shows might not be available for order due to copyright, trademark issues, or blacklisting of the other featured cast. Other items I randomly collected in the process include keychains and a stapler with a caricature of my first-gen bias, photographs that were actually sold at the Korean stationery stores in the 90s, a compilation book of their fan letters that was published in 1998, and their photo book, or 영상집 in Korean, from 1999. These were also purchased through secondhand sellers or online bookstores. In addition, I obtained a few of my first-gen biases autographs through 2 meetups and a few of their TikTok events. In conclusion, my merch collection started off as a typical second-gen fan experience, but the first-gen rabbit hole truly expanded the experience for all things 90s and the early 2000s. For me, merch collecting used to be as simple as acquiring my biases CDs, DVDs, and related merch, either out of a sense of obligation or the association with the fandom. However, as time went by and my interest in K-pop became way more than my favorite artists, I realized how useful and crucial recorded media and printed material can become regarding so many aspects of research. Keeping records, obtaining information, distinguishing faces of idol members I don't recognize, and even listening to the music itself. This revelation changed my view on merch as a whole. When I first started collecting, I used to get admonished by my parents for collecting quote-unquote trinkets that were deemed unnecessary and falling for the capitalist aspects of the marketing. And I won't lie, I used to complain about how expensive some of the items were, new or secondhand, and contemplated quitting when it had already become my hobby. Nowadays, I appreciate the invaluable information that helps with my knowledge and exploration, and I will forever be grateful that I keep them in my collections. Last but not least, I also want to give a shout out to all the other K-pop fans who keep personal archives of K-pop idols, whether popular or obscure, and choose to make it public. Well, I will partially count as one of them because I own a blog where I post my own scans, but my friend Jedox is another fantastic K-pop fan/archivist, and there are plenty out there doing tremendous work into keeping records of precious K-pop information. You will now know the process it takes for us to acquire the merch we own, but digitizing, scanning, posting, and often repairing or restoring them is yet another load of work that takes plenty of time, effort, and money. So when we post our collections, we'd appreciate it if people didn't take it for granted. Sometimes when other people use image files of first and second gen artists, they don't use the generic ones that were saved or reposted over the years. They intentionally steal fixed images that came directly from websites that the archivist in question asked people not to spread without permission. When that's the case, the first-gen fandom tends to get angry and even boycotts or blacklists content creators for doing so. There are even instances of online users stealthily reposting the images or scans without permission under the excuse of taking requests from other fans or, quote-unquote, creating their own archive space, only for them to use the images to slander and insult the idols or their fans in question. This has happened to me and Chidex, unfortunately. We both have experienced getting cyberbullied from the problematic user and having our Q&As being spammed with all sorts of hate comments that are unrelated to our hobby as a K-pop fan. I want to make it clear, we are not gatekeeping our collections for personal convenience. We are being careful with how we want our collections to be reviewed or appreciated by other people. If you want to use our posts for your personal tea or spread negativity upon the artists and their fans, our platforms are not the best place for your exploitation. If you want access to some of our scans for research or creating your own deep dives, we will appreciate your consideration and allow you to repost our stuff as long as you credit us as your sources. And I want to thank every fan who visits my blog or social media, as well as Chidex and the other fans' social spaces, to discuss K-pop history or exchange information. You can contact me to use my scans or ask for watermark-free images anytime, as long as you let me know and credit me for your reposts. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, then please make sure to rate, subscribe, follow, and tell your friends about us. If you want to interact with us or just see more of our content, then you can follow the links in the description to our website and social media platforms. More single scoops are coming your way soon. Thanks everyone. Bye! 다음에 만나요.